Welcome to Gearhead Lab, your all-in-one garage for car reviews, trim comparisons, maintenance hacks, and real-world repair tricks. Your engine is not dying on the highway in some dramatic explosion. It's dying quietly, in traffic, one normal drive at a time, and you are probably the one killing it without even knowing. Most engines are built to last far longer than the average driver ever keeps a car. In theory, with proper care, many modern engines can easily cross 250,000 to 300,000 kilometers. But in reality, they rarely get close, not because the engineering is bad, but because the habits are. The scary part? The habits that destroy engines are not extreme or rare. They are small, everyday behaviors, letting one more oil change slide, ignoring one more warning light, or driving just a bit harder because the car feels fine. This video is about those quiet killers, 7 ways you are shortening your engine's life without even realizing it. First, let's attack the biggest myth. If the car feels fine, the oil must be fine. This is wrong, and it is probably the #1 way people commit slow-motion engine murder. Engine oil is not just some slippery liquid, it is the life support system of the engine. It lubricates moving parts, carries away heat, suspends microscopic metal particles and combustion byproducts, and protects surfaces from wear. Over time, even the best oil breaks down from heat, pressure, and contamination. It loses viscosity, loses its ability to protect, and can start turning into sludge. The problem is, you don't feel that from the driver's seat. The engine still starts. It still pulls, so the owner keeps pushing the interval. I'll change it next month, it's probably fine. Inside, it's not fine. The worn-out oil gets thinner when hot, so the protective film between metal parts gets weaker. Bearings, cam lobes, and cylinder walls see more direct contact. The engine runs a bit hotter. Tiny passages that feed oil to critical areas can start to clog. Sludge starts collecting in corners of the head and sump. None of this gives you a dramatic warning at first. No big noise, no big light, just accelerated wear. By the time you finally see a low oil pressure warning, hear a knocking sound, or notice that the engine sounds tappier than it used to, years of damage are already permanent. The habit of stretching oil changes, especially with cheap filters or poor quality oil, is quietly chopping tens of thousands of kilometers off your engine's life. If ignoring oil health is the first killer, ignoring warning signs is the second. Drivers love to bargain with their car's warning systems. A check engine light comes on and the inner dialogue starts. The car feels okay. Maybe it's just a sensor. I'll get it checked, eventually. The temperature gauge creeps slightly higher than usual. Maybe the day is hot. A faint burning smell. Maybe something outside. That is how an engine that is begging for help gets completely ignored. Modern cars are full of sensors designed to pick up problems early. Misfires, lean mixtures, overheating, low oil pressure, faulty cooling fans, failing oxygen sensors. Many of these issues are cheap and simple to fix if caught early. But if you keep driving for weeks or months, what started as a minor problem snowballs. A small coolant leak that could have been fixed with a hose and clamp turns into a major overheat, warping the head or blowing the head gasket. A misfire that could have been solved with new spark plugs or a coil pack ends up overfueling the catalytic converter, overheating it, and costing you thousands. A low oil pressure light that flashed briefly on corners is brushed off as just a glitch, until one day the bearing material has worn away enough that the engine starts knocking. Drivers don't like interrupting their routine, so they pretend the little yellow or red lights are just decorations. That habit, driving through warnings as if they are optional, is one of the fastest, dumbest ways to shorten an engine's life dramatically. Now let's talk about something a lot of people secretly enjoy: driving your car like it owes you money. Hard accelerations, full throttle launches from every light, bouncing off the red line, late braking into every turn, aggressive kickdowns on the highway. This might feel fun, and occasionally it can be, but making it your everyday style is brutal for the engine. When you floor it, cylinder pressures spike, temperatures rise sharply, and every internal component, pistons, rods, crankshaft, valves, bearings, is forced to work at its limit. High RPM driving multiplies the number of cycles the engine goes through every second. That means the oil film has less time to form and recover. Friction goes up, and any weakness, poor lubrication, old oil, slightly worn parts, gets punished harder. This doesn't mean you need to drive like a robot. Engines are designed to handle bursts of higher RPM, occasional spirited driving, and highway pulls. The problem is when spirited becomes all the time. If your daily commute looks like a miniature race session, revving high on a cold engine, constantly slamming the throttle open, and riding the red line for no reason, you are heat-soaking the engine and its oil over and over. Gaskets cook, seals harden, and deposits build faster. Even turbocharged engines built with performance in mind will suffer if they are constantly thrashed without proper warm-up and cool down. The habit is simple. Occasionally, fine. Always. You are shaving years off your engine's life for 10 seconds of fake race car glory. On the flip side, there is another style that feels gentle, but quietly damages your engine, lugging it at low RPM. You've seen this. Drivers who shift to a higher gear way too early, or let the auto stay in a high gear while asking for strong acceleration. The engine rumbles, vibrates, and sounds like it's laboring, but the driver thinks, nice, low revs, must be saving fuel. What's really happening is that the engine is being forced to produce a lot of torque at an RPM where it doesn't breathe or lubricate as well. At low speeds, the oil pump and water pump are moving more slowly, there is less flow. Meanwhile, the cylinders are seeing heavy load. That combination, high load, low RPM, creates high pressure on bearings and pistons with reduced lubrication and cooling. Over time, it can cause knocking, accelerate wear on the crank and bearings, and contribute to carbon buildup on pistons and valves. Manual drivers do this when they are lazy about downshifting. Automatic drivers see it when they crawl up hills or accelerate from low speeds in a tall gear, letting the transmission hunt or hesitate instead of giving a proper kickdown. The fix is simple. Listen to the engine. If it sounds like it's struggling, shuddering, or humming deeply while you are asking it to accelerate, you are lugging it. Drop a gear. Let it spin a bit more freely. That slightly higher RPM, within the normal range, is often easier on the engine than forcing it to drag the car uphill from a near idle. Saving a few drops of fuel is not worth stressing the most expensive part of your car. Now let's open the fuel cap on another silent killer, living on an almost empty tank and feeding your engine junk. Drivers love to see how far they can go after the fuel light comes on. I know my car, it still has at least 50 kilometers in it. Sure, it might. But that habit is not harmless. The fuel pump in many modern cars sits inside the tank and is cooled and lubricated by the fuel around it. When you constantly run near empty, the pump can run hotter and less efficiently, shortening its life. On top of that, any sediment and contaminants that naturally settle at the bottom of the tank are more likely to get sucked into the system when levels are low, putting extra work on the fuel filter and potentially letting some debris get further upstream. Add to that the quality and octane of the fuel you use. Engines that are designed or recommended to run on higher octane fuel are tuned to work with its specific resistance to knock. If you consistently feed them lower than recommended octane, you are asking the engine management system to pull timing, adjust fueling, and fight off detonation. When that system can't keep up, hot days, heavy load, steep climbs, you get engine knock. Uncontrolled micro-explosions in the cylinder that hammer pistons, rings, and bearings. You might not hear it clearly from inside, but your engine certainly does. Over years, that can lead to chronic wear and, in extreme cases, cracked pistons or damaged ringlands. Saving a few currency notes per tank by using the wrong fuel or driving around on fumes is a false economy that quietly shortens both fuel system and engine lifespan. If fuel is the engine's food, the cooling system is its climate control, and neglecting it is like locking someone in a sauna and walking away. Coolant does far more than stop the engine from freezing. It raises the boiling point of the liquid in the cooling system, prevents corrosion inside passages, and helps keep temperatures stable. Over time, coolant degrades. Its additives lose their strength, corrosion inhibitors weaken, and the fluid can start attacking metal surfaces, hoses, and seals from the inside. Small leaks appear, often ignored as just a bit of coolant smell or a slow drop in the expansion tank. Meanwhile, the radiator might be partially clogged, the thermostat slow, the water pump worn. The result? An engine that runs slightly hotter than it should, especially under load or in summer. You may never see the needle slam into the red, but repeatedly running a little too hot cooks the oil faster, stresses gaskets, and warps components by fractions of a millimeter. Eventually, one bad day, traffic jam, hot weather, long hill, and the temperature spikes. Once an engine severely overheats, you are in head gasket, warped head, or even cracked block territory. All of this often started years earlier with a simple habit: never changing the coolant, never flushing the system, never checking hoses, and pretending a rising temperature gauge was probably nothing. Engines do not forgive heat abuse for long. Hand in hand with cooling neglect is another invisible mistake: treating filters like decorations instead of vital organs. Your air filter is your engine's lung protector. Its job is to stop dust, sand, and debris from entering the intake and scoring cylinder walls, valves, and pistons. Over time, it loads up with dirt. That's normal, but if you never change it, the engine has to work harder just to breathe. It can start running rich or lean depending on the design, and the mixture may suffer. A clogged filter can reduce power, increase fuel consumption, and encourage soot and deposits forming on valves and combustion chambers. Cheap performance filters, if poorly designed or oiled incorrectly, can actually let more fine dust through than a good stock filter, trading short-term flow for long-term wear. Then there is the fuel filter. Its job is to trap contaminants from the tank before they reach injectors. A neglected, clogged fuel filter forces the pump to work harder, can starve the engine of fuel under load, and can contribute to lean running or misfires. Combine that with a low-grade or wrong-spec oil filter that doesn't catch the right size particles, or that goes into bypass too easily, and you now have dirty fuel feeding your engine and dirty oil circulating through it. None of this gives you a Hollywood-style failure. Instead, it increases wear on every single drive until one day, the engine feels tired, noisy, and expensive to fix. Finally, there is a habit almost everyone gets wrong: how you warm up and cool down your engine. Many drivers still live by old advice. Start the car, let it idle in the driveway for 10 to 15 minutes to warm it up, then drive off. On the other side, some people start the engine and immediately rev it hard, especially if they are in a hurry. Both extremes are bad. Modern engines warm up best by being driven gently. Long idling on a cold engine can lead to incomplete combustion, fuel dilution in the oil, and carbon buildup in the intake and exhaust. Revving hard when the engine is still cold means the oil is thicker and slower to circulate, so you are forcing metal parts to move fast before they are fully protected. And then there is shutdown. If you drive hard, especially in a turbocharged car, then immediately park and shut the engine off, you trap a lot of heat inside the engine and turbo. Oil can sit in extremely hot areas and literally cook, forming deposits and varnish that clog tiny passages and damage bearings. Over time, this heat soak eats away at the health of turbos and other components. A short, gentle drive or a brief low RPM idle before shutdown after heavy use helps temperatures stabilize and lets oil cool moving parts more evenly. It's a small habit change, but over years it can be the difference between a turbo that fails at 80,000 kilometers and one that keeps spinning happily well past 200,000. Put all of this together and a pattern appears. It is rarely one catastrophic mistake that kills an engine early. It is the combination of 7 subtle habits: stretching oil changes, ignoring warning signs, thrashing the engine constantly, lugging it at low RPM, starving it of proper fuel, neglecting cooling and filters, and treating warm-up and cool-down like a guess. Each one by itself might seem minor. Just one more month on this oil. Just one time driving with that light on. Just one more full throttle pull while it's still cold. But engines don't forget. Every bad decision leaves a tiny scratch, a tiny stress, a tiny deposit. Over years, those add up to massive wear, lost compression, oil consumption, and expensive repairs that suddenly appear. The upside? You can flip this script starting today. Stick to proper oil and filter intervals with the right spec oil. Take any warning light, odd noise, or temperature change seriously instead of hoping it disappears. Drive smoothly most of the time, saving the hard pulls for a fully warmed engine and rare occasions. Avoid lugging. Let the engine spin where it feels comfortable. Keep decent fuel in the tank and don't live on empty. Respect your cooling system and your filters as core parts of the engine, not afterthoughts. Warm it up by driving gently, and after hard use, give it a brief cool down instead of an instant shutdown. If you do these simple things, you are not just maintaining your engine, you're buying it years of extra life. That can be the difference between selling your car while it still feels strong, or watching it die early in a cloud of smoke and warning lights. This video was brought to you by Auto Shotgun Media.